Welcome, everyone. I'm Mike Bershazadeh.
And I'm Ashely Ward.
And you're listening to the What Matters podcast, and our mission
to spotlight top RIAs, wealth managers, and investment professionals who are redefining wealth management.
Join us as we dive into their journeys, strategies, and insights.
Whether you're an investor or an inspiring pro, this is for you.
Get ready for impactful conversations on the What Matters podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another insightful episode of the What Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bershazadeh.
And I'm Ashely Ward.
And today we have a phenomenal industry veteran with us, Shannon Spotswood. Shannon is the president of RFG Advisory and advisory-focused RIA out of Vestavia Hills, Alabama.
You can just go with Birmingham, Alabama.
Shannon,
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yes. Shannon, you're also a frequent speaker at conferences, podcasts, and industry events. She's also the host of RFG's Distribution Blueprint podcast and the creator of Strong Her Money, an advisory prospecting and educational platform for women to inspire them to live financially fearless. Welcome, Shannon. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you. I love this podcast. This is a real honor, and, shameless plug for our Disruption Blueprint podcast. And my colleague, our VP of Tech, has one called Game Film by Dr. J. So I think it's one of the most exciting forms of medium in our industry. So I'm really excited to be with you today.
Absolutely. Likewise, Shannon. So let's jump right in. You've had an incredible career spanning over 25 years in the financial services industry. Can you take us back through the journey that led you to joining RFG back in 2015, I believe? And
that's right.
To now your current role as president of the firm.
I have been incredibly blessed to have a very vibrant and exciting career in financial services. I have 3 children. My youngest daughter is 15. So when I tell this story now, it rings in a very different way. But I fell in love with Wall Street when I was a teenager. When I was 14 years old, I asked my parents for a subscription to the Wall Street Journal. And I now know, having 3 teenagers, that was so weird. But it was, I was intrigued by Wall Street and money and making money and fell in love and had tunnel vision about working in the industry, and moved to San Francisco right out of undergrad. Was in that city during one of its most vibrant periods, and had the first 20 years of my career on the institutional side of the business. So I was a part of 2 hedge funds. I ran a long short equity fund for 6 years. I had a tremendous opportunity in investment banking, in an analyst program, promoted to associate, helped start an M&A team. And the investment bank, we were one of the first banks targeting technology companies. Our logo was a T-Rex with an X through it. And it was early days of what is the World Wide Web and what is the internet, and just one of the most exciting times, honestly, in Silicon Valley's, history. And I got to have a frontline seat, and it was just an absolute blast. And the experience that I had on the institutional side of the business really allowed me to have tremendous clarity as I was in my job search, and found RFG. And so my story is one that really hinges on the power of the pivot. And as I mentioned, I'd fallen in love with finance, with Wall Street. I'd worked at these, ground floor of these 2 hedge funds that went on to become very big and successful firms, ground floor of this investment bank, and, really had a frontline seat on the creation of that industry. And one day, my youngest daughter was born in May of 2008. And a few years after kind of toiling through, as we all did during that time, the aftermath of the market crash and what that meant, I couldn't get on an airplane. It was like overnight, the spark left me, and my first love that had been such a guiding light in my career just wasn't there. And for anyone who has been in that situation, you don't realize how much of your identity is wrapped up in who you are and what you do. You know, I was a hedge fund manager. I was, you know, there weren't a lot of women that were running funds. I was, you know, our firm had been acquired by Nuveen Investments. I was in this phenomenal place to really continue in that industry. And all of a sudden I physically couldn't do it anymore. And I took a very hard left-hand turn pivot. And I partnered with a woman and we built a luxury children's clothing company out of a garage. So I went from the tallest building at the time in San Francisco with a big team and an even bigger future to being surrounded by upside down boxes of children's clothing and figuring out how we were going to build a business around it.
Wow.
And I know. And you know what? I did that for 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, during that time, my husband and I decided to relocate from San Francisco to Birmingham, Alabama. And you can imagine if you've lived in San Francisco for more than 20 years and all of a sudden you tell people you're moving to Birmingham, Alabama, and no, you are not from there, and no, you did not grow up there, and no, you don't have jobs there. People think you've been kidnapped by aliens.
Yeah.
Like, something happening. Like, are you having an existential crisis? But my husband and I wanted to raise our kids in the South, and we have family here in Birmingham and family in the Southeast, and just wanted to slow things down a little bit and just raise our kids in the South. And the first year that I was living in Birmingham and we were kind of settling in and figuring out we wanted to stay here, I was checking all the boxes of the business plan for the luxury children's clothing company and realizing that business had kind of we'd taken it from a trunk show business to wholesale retail. We'd built one of the first websites on Shopify. We'd done all this cool stuff, but that business was exactly what it needed to be. And so I went on a personal retrospective of diving really deep into my 20 years in institutional finance and my 3 years as like a real entrepreneur, like where are you going to get money for Post-it notes entrepreneur. And what I learned in that diagnostic is what fuels me, like what just, is going to light my fire to get me out of bed and just energized. And for me, I'm a builder. So at each of the two hedge funds, at the investment bank, at the children's clothing company, I was on the ground floor, and that intersection of talent and opportunity meet. And you get to build something bigger than yourself. You get to be a part of the team. You get to be a part of a mission. That is my why. That is my spark. And so I titled my job search in Birmingham. And quite honestly, when I left the second hedge fund and I walked away from it and I closed that door, I really felt that door was closed forever. I was like, that chapter of my life is over. I won't be going back there. And I put together my resume. I titled my job search Seeking the Intangible, because I kind of didn't care about, the title, the role, the industry. I was just like looking, finance was the most natural place for me to look, but I was looking for that opportunity to build something. And this is what makes, for me, there's an element of like predestiny, and the universe has this amazing way of working things out. But I met the founder of RFG. We actually celebrated our 20-year anniversary this year. So Bobby White is the founder of RFG. He's an advisor. He had grown the company from $0 to $1.2 billion. And the last mile of his growth from $450 million to 1.2 had come in 2014, where he had gone on this crusade for growth. He had wanted to double the business. He ended up tripling the size of the business, and he found himself at a crossroads. That morning we met, as he tells the story, I didn't wake up thinking, oh, today I'm going to meet my future business partner and the woman who's going to be president of my company. He really just found himself in a situation where I've grown the firm, but I've outgrown my team, and I've outgrown my technology, and I've outgrown my value proposition, and I'm 100% custodied at LPL, and I am predominantly brokerage in the industry. I'm not positioned for where I think the industry is headed. And he and I basically had our very first meeting was a filler meeting. I was like, I'm not really, retail isn't really my jam. And, he's kind of coming at this doing a favor for a friend. 10 minutes into our first meeting on our very first day, we both canceled the rest of our day. And on what we call the proverbial cocktail napkin, which was a yellow pad in his office, we architected what is now RFG. And the conversation we had that day was, if anything is ringing louder and is more true today than it was 7.5 years ago, which is what if you could tear RFG 1.0 down and rebuild it from the ground floor up, designed for independent advisors, designed for them to be able to build enterprise value, recognizing all of this disruptive winds of change, the generational wealth transfer, the fintech revolution, and the amount of private equity that's flooding into our industry, both to back platforms as well as fintech companies, the changing expectations of the advisor-client relationship, the succession crisis, in certain parts of the market, the fee compression, just all of these factors. Like, we are in such a dynamic moment of true, like, evolutionary, revolutionary change in our industry. What if you tore the entire house down and built it from the ground floor up? It took us about 6 months to work out the kinks of our partnership. And I started September 1st, 7.5 years ago. And it has been, pedal to the floor building RFG 2.0. Our third partner, Rick Waddell, who's our chief investment officer, brought this wealth of institutional caliber investment management expertise to our service offering for advisors, having gone to Harvard, magna cum laude, Stanford, #1 in his class, Henry Ford Scholar, and spent more than a decade at Bain Capital, running an $8.5 billion portfolio. He brought to RFG this institutional caliber investment expertise. So we really, for RFG 2.0, our foundational pillars were, a frictionless, a best-in-class, a cutting-edge technology stack, institutional caliber investment management, very intentional culture that is anchored in amplifying advisor independence, being a client experience company first, a technology company second, an RIA support platform third, and then being really creative in bringing capital solutions to our advisors. So that was really, quite honestly, RFG 2.0. And then we have RFG 3.0, which starts 2023, September 15th, with the closing of our partnership with our incredible private equity growth capital partner, Longridge.
So you guys, there's 3 total partners there at your organization. Is that correct?
That's correct. And now our fourth partner with Longridge.
Real cool. So tell me a little bit about that. For what we can see, you said Bobby had built the company from 400 million to 1.4 billion. Obviously, us being in that industry, there's growth hurdles there, right? You get past that 750, and then you get past that billion, and then there's areas where people tend to get stuck and whatnot. How did you guys end up getting to 3 billion there?
Well, we're now 4.6. Yes. So
RA
it is.
database. Correct me again.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Wow.
Thank you so much. And I will tell you, growth hurdles. So let's, I'll frame it up in 2 different ways. One is just to kind of bring the story to, where we are today. We're in really the first few months of our partnership with Longridge. Is that, we had our head down building RFG 2.0, serving our advisors. We've been very focused on helping our advisors drive organic growth into their practice, amplify that one-to-one relationship with their clients, and create enterprise value. And we honestly thought we would just be doing just that, like head down, continuing on that path. And, Longridge has had tremendous success in the industry, having backed Carson, being involved with Dynasty. And after they rolled out of Carson, this is their story. They really went looking for a platform serving independent advisors. They felt that there was a tremendous amount of runway still from an investment opportunity in the industry. And that's somewhat, unusual. Usually a private equity firm kind of, takes the win and moves on to something else. So they were on, very intentional search looking for a platform supporting independent advisors. And we were introduced to them very serendipitously through one of our former board members who was actually bringing a fintech company to their attention as a possible investment. And they said, well, what we're really looking for is a platform to invest in. And what was so exciting about that, Mike and Ashely, is because we weren't running a process, because we were just busy head down serving our advisors, when we all met, it was one of those where there was no daylight between how we see the industry and how they see the industry. So RFG is very clear-eyed. Ours is, an industry that has had tremendous success and demonstrated models of aggregators, of integrators. And what we're building, we call it the innovator model. And it is all about, for us, serving growth mindset advisors between 50 million and 300 million who want all of the services that we bring to the table, the coaching, the investment management, the technology, the operational support, the talent support, this we always say we want to die on the hill of branding and marketing. There's so much opportunity for advisors to market. And we want to help those advisors become the next 300 million billion dollar firm. So we're not for everyone. We're like, if you don't have a growth mindset, if you don't believe your brand matters, if you don't resent wasting your time on non-revenue generating activities, you're not a great fit for RFG. And Longridge really saw the industry in a very similar way, that there is an opportunity for us to be able to empower, especially G2 advisors who are building and who represent the future of the industry, who are very focused on, we have all the respect in the world for G1, but we don't want to be chief cook and bottle washer. We want a team around us that's really going to allow us to prospect and grow and deepen those relationships and be financial life coaches, which is where the industry is going. So, Longridge and RFG had this alignment, and the growth hurdle, what I will say, for us, one of the greatest lessons that we learned in building that, you can imagine when you say to advisors, take this journey with us. We're going to tear this house down. We're going to flip this business from brokerage to advisory. Everything about your business model, everything about your technology, everything about your service model to clients is going to change. What is the one thing advisors hate? Change. Hate change. If they didn't hate change, 67% of the assets would not still be in the wirehouses.
Right.
When the independent model is just so clearly in their favor in terms of being able to have entrepreneurial control over how they spend their time and how they grow their business. But they hate change. And we asked our advisors to take this transformational journey, trust us, take this journey of change with us. And what I would say, you run into every single moment of, balancing growth and profitability and scalability. Those are all unique challenges that you're going to hit at every single, and we're going to continue to hit as we grow as RFG 3.0. But the one thing that I would say is the lesson that we always come back to is that when you have to walk through the valley of fear, and every single person that you articulate this vision of tearing the house down and building this platform for advisor independence tells you it can't be done. It's too hard. Your advisors are all going to leave you. It's too much change. It's too fast. You're too much. You have got to go back to back with your partners and with your team and get so clear-eyed on what is your mission, vision, values, what is your touchstone of why. And for us, it's servant heart warrior mindset. It is we win when our advisors win, and we're a client experience company first, we're a technology company second, we're an RIA support platform third. And that clarity of mission, vision, values, and the attributes that amplify that. For us, it's crush everything. Servant heart warrior mindset, right? Figure it out. I'll share with you after this. We have an art gallery that we created celebrating our cultural attributes. That is the lesson that is applicable no matter where you are. If you are a $10 million advisor just getting started, if you're a $50 million in hyper growth mode, if you're a $1 billion firm, if you're a growing platform, if you're a $50 billion platform, the one consistent lesson that you have to learn and you have to just be ruthlessly honest about is like, what is going to get you out of bed? What is the alignment around mission, vision, values?
So you highlighted on something, and I love the growth mindset, right? That's what our company's all about as well. And I get excited when people talk about that. And so in talking about the growth there, and again, I apologize. We only have RI database to go off of, but in building this organization, close to or north of tripling it since you had came on, I believe there. How many advisors were out there at the time, and how many advisors have you guys grown to?
So there were about 36 at the time, and we're 108 today.
Wow. And do your advisors, if you don't mind me asking, are they integrated? Do they operate autonomously under other
all
DBAs?
1099?
Gotcha.
All 1099 advisors. But what makes RFG is that they are raising their hand and saying, yes, I want all of the services. So we have a fully integrated tech stack all the way down from the desktop. Like, this is the laptop you're going to use so that we can control all the cybersecurity risk and provide the in-house desktop support. Because if you park a Ferrari on an advisor's desk that allow them to drive workflows, to have drip marketing campaigns, to really optimize the day-to-day of their practice, but their printer doesn't work and their email doesn't work, it doesn't matter that there is a Ferrari sitting on their desk.
Right.
They can't get their email to work. So for us, it is all about like wrapping our advisors in the services, in the coaching, in their talent. Their teams are W-2 of RFG. We hire them, mentor them, train them, coach them, provide them with a community to become force multipliers for their advisors. The investment management piece, the operational piece, capital. You want to do a succession deal, we're going to show up and do the strategic planning to get that deal done. So for us, it is, we're kind of the antithesis of like, show up and we'll leave you alone, or financial engineering, or aggregators, or, integrators. Here's your Chinese food menu of the lowest cost of negotiated contract. We're like, no. You're coming to RFG because you want to grow. You want an organic growth story. You want someone who's investing in your brand. You want the coaching. You want to one of our favorite sayings is get comfortable being uncomfortable and you'll never be uncomfortable again. Those are the advisors who thrive at RFG. It's like, I want to disrupt myself. I want innovation. I have a hunger to get 1% better every day. And, I'll be honest with you guys, like, advisors sometimes have to go through like a little bit of a mindset reprogramming when they get here, because they're like, no, really? You win when I win? Because they're coming from an environment where that hasn't been the case. And it's not for everyone. And we're okay with that.
I agree. They say that your life begins at the end of your comfort zone. Right.
Yeah.
Well, first off, I have to say I love your passion and your energy, Shannon. I mean, it clearly aligns with everything, all of your mission and your values at RFG. I do want to talk a little bit about She Her Money. So you're the creator of She Her Money. Strong Her. My apologies. Yeah. Strong Her.
Right. I like She Her. I might have to trademark that one too. Strong
Her Money. Can you tell us more about this initiative and, how it contributes to inspiring and empowering women advisors in finance? This is probably one of the most important things that we do, and is something we're really excited to continue to invest in and really proud of. And it came from some very sobering statistics, and these are still true, and weigh very heavily on my heart as a female leader in the industry, which is the majority of women in the event of death and divorce fire their financial advisor because they feel left out of that conversation. And when you imagine you're in this place of great pain and where you need the comfort and guidance of your financial advisor, because that's what
financial advisors are, they're superheroes. They do this very noble work. And yet women are consistently saying in study after study after study that they feel excluded from the conversation. They feel left out by the jargon. They feel that they're not being heard or honored or even acknowledged in the relationship. That to me is just gut wrenching. And then you couple it with what we call the Wonder Women stats, which is, 90% of purchasing decisions are made by women today. 67% of all wealth in this country will be controlled by women by the year 2030. 51% of management jobs in this country are held by women. As we like to say, women are not a niche market. And the industry has just been slow to adopt a model that has financial life coaching, that has empathy, that has acknowledging that women think about money very differently than men think about money. And so the idea behind creating Stronger Money and what has been so amazing is we have both men and women as advisors at RFG who are Stronger Money ambassadors. This is not just a female play. And what we do with Stronger Money is we host a tremendous amount of events, and they're all designed to be educational in nature. So the idea is empower women to live financially fearless through education. And we're not trying to turn women into DIYers, right? We are a for-profit entity. We want them to work with financial advisors, but we want them to have a safe environment where there is no stupid question, where we can have no judgment, where we can just be really intentional about building that bridge, having those conversations, and equipping women, whether they're early in their stage, they're at retirement, they've been divorced, they've been widowed, they've been left out of the money conversation. Meet them wherever they are in their journey and empower them to live financially fearless. It is such important work, and it has influenced and shaped several of our advisors' practice. And we are very focused, as I mentioned, on driving organic growth at RFG for our advisors. Leveraging the full extent of the platform, including investment management, is 20% against an industry that's at 2%. So helping advisors I actually was doing strategic coaching with an advisor today who's a Stronger Money ambassador, and he was leveraging some of the tools. He was talking with one of his female clients who's been a client for a long time. And she was talking about something, and he said, I looked her right in the eye and I said, why does that matter to you? And he was like, the intensity of the conversation that we had on the back of that one simple question. One question, why does that matter to you? He's like, she hugged me when she walked out of that. And, women refer 27 times more than men. So that's a referable moment for that advisor. It is hugely important work for the future of our country. It is an unmet need. Only 14% of financial advisors are women. So it cannot just be female advisors taking care of female clients. This is an area that our industry can have outsized impact over the course of the next 7 to 10 years.
That's fantastic. I love that. I think it's definitely a very important, area that needs more focus on in the industry. And so when did you guys start that initiative?
Oh my gosh. It's like, what did I have for breakfast today? I want to say we started that in 2019.
Okay.
2019. So we're a couple years into it. I mean, we have 20 advisors or Stronger Money ambassadors. We do events all over. We're predominantly in the Southeast and Midwest. We've got a lot of really exciting events that we're working on, some Zoom events so that we can impact more women. We're doing a lot with young women just starting their careers. This is I think something that's very overlooked. It's not an obvious source of where you generate revenue, right? You can't, our model in the industry is predicated on you've already have assets to manage, or I'm going to charge you a financial planning fee, or I'm going to charge you. We've got some young advisors that are successfully incubating consulting models, but we really want to have as a part of our mission for Stronger Money, just some free coaching. Make smart decisions early in your career. Don't be afraid to advocate and negotiate for that raise. I was working with my niece just this week. She's a physician's assistant and kind of came to the realization that she was making $100,000 less than her peers and was instrumental in running the doctor she worked for to practices. Learn how to negotiate, learn how to know your worth. Like there's a lot of work to be done early to set up these women for success where they're going to be tier 1 clients later on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I love that work you're doing. And I have to say, I did check out the website and everything, and it's fantastic. Everyone needs to check it out. Stronghermoney.com.
Stronghermoney.com. And
Yes.
It's got in the lab, we've got the new Stronger Money website that I'm hoping to unveil here. We're hoping to unveil towards the beginning of Q1. So it's going to get an extreme makeover.
Check that out.
Yeah.
So switching gears a bit here, looking ahead, what does the future of wealth management look like to you? Any expert opinions on trends, technologies, strategies that you really see shaping the industry in the future?
I say this anytime anyone gives me like, let me stand on my soapbox, I will preach this all day long. We are in a bull market for advice, but the future of the industry looks radically different than it does today. And technology, friction-free technology that works. When you talk to advisors, the pain point that they have around technology is it doesn't work and there's too much friction. You've got to have a friction-free technology that is empowering the one-to-one and amplifying the one-to-one relationship with a client, that is driving growth, that is removing. I mean, it's crazy. Advisors spend 80% of their time on non-revenue generating activities. I mean, when you think about that, it blows your mind. Like we have all this technology to drive workflows, to drive engagement, to drive prospecting journeys, to deepen, very intentionally through texting and marketing and video and like all of it. Table stakes is technology, best in class technology. AI is coming faster than we can even imagine. And what is so wonderful about the trend that we're in. And I just, last week I was at T3, 20-year anniversary of that conference. It was probably the best one I've ever been to. There were some really innovative companies around. What is exciting about the trend in technology is nothing kills your culture more than throwing bodies at problems. Nothing kills your culture more. You're not hiring the right people. You're not selecting them. You're just trying to, we're drowning, right? We're drowning in work. We got to get more people in here. And before you know it, your company looks nothing like what you wanted it to look at. So what is exciting about this wave of technology coming to the market is that it's going to empower our team to be able to, really lean into what they love, the passion part of their job, serving clients, growing businesses, deepening relationships, solving complex problems, the thing that people are great at, and allow technology to remove the friction and remove the redundancy and remove all the, as I call it, like soul sucking in our industry of like, whether it's headaches around NIGOs or paperwork or fill in the blank, there's tons of it out there. So future of the industry, friction-free technology, table stakes, empowering your team. Number 2 pain point for advisors, according to the Schwab study, is talent. Can't find them, can't train them, can't retain them, can't career path them. If you are hiring people into a culture that is not inspiring and you're giving them work that is soul sucking, you are not going to build a vibrant company that is going to be well positioned for the future. So again, coming back to technology, coming back to culture, coming back to talent. And then I think the biggest, bull market for advice trend that will be wildly disruptive to the industry is that there is this Y in the road that we are facing. And the data is telling us that the G2, G3, Gen X, Gen Y, millennials want to pay for advice. This is this is more so even than baby boomers, but they want one stop. They want a financial life coach. And the emphasis is on that word life. They want their financial planning to mean something. They don't want to just die rich. So how are we going to do that? How does BFI influence client portals, influence prospecting journeys, influence our ability to serve more people? 10,000 advisors are retiring in the next 10 years. we're not attracting 10,000 advisors to the industry. So we're going to have to be able to do more for more families. So I think it is honestly like the next 10 years is one of the most exciting dynamic times in the industry. And those advisors who are spending their time where it is having the greatest impact, that are surrounded by a team that is highly aligned on their mission, vision, values, that is building a brand that connects, right? The data tells us a client is saying to an advisor, show me your real authentic self. Don't walk and talk like everybody else. And don't, for the love, ever talk to me about alpha and my risk score and my, like, people don't know what it means. They're like, help me build a rich life. So I think that trend, there was some great data shared actually by eMoney at the T3 conference. And they said clients are reporting a higher satisfaction score with their advisor if they're using their client portal. I think I'll put RFG out there in this camp as well. Like, it is one of my like holy grails, one of our tech team's like missions for this year. The client portal experience in the financial services industry across the board pales in comparison to other industries' client experience. We've got so much room. There's so much opportunity to build really rich client ecosystems. And you marry that with client satisfaction scores are higher for those clients who are actively engaged in the portal. We are in a bull market for advice. We are in a bull market for fintech. We are in a bull market for disruption. We are in a bull market for like advisors and their teams living a life that is truly like passion driven and impacting more people in this country than they have in the past.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I feel like there's so much, room for opportunity and growth like in the industry in the next 10 years there. I mean, clients want to be able to log into a portal and have all their information there. They don't want to have to pick up the phone and call their advisor every time they have a question about what's going on with their finances.
They want to text their advisor. They want to text their advisor.
Exactly. Yeah. The younger generation want to have everything at the tip of their fingers. So,
yep. And they should.
kind of, absolutely. And so on the flip end of that, what investments in sectors, you kind of shed a little bit of light on that, but what investments in sectors really excite you right now? Any insights for the next wave of wealth creation?
Oh, there's so many cool companies out there. The ones that are, we win on talent, culture, and technology. So we're always going to be investing, kind of putting our money where our mouth is. Like, let's walk the walk on this. We're always going to be investing in talent, technology, and culture. It's easiest, I think, to talk about the investment that we're making in technology, but I'll touch really quickly on talent. We've got some really exciting team members that we're adding to our team, including a chief behavioral officer on our investment team. We want to lean in to our advisors need a partner on the investment management side to help them be an financial life coach. So we're investing in, this is one of like our most exciting new hires, in a position that's all around the director of failure. Help us find where we're non-scalable, standard operating procedure. Find our failure points. Help us bring technology to optimize those areas so that we can deliver an exceptional client experience to our advisors and in turn to their clients. So we're hiring a dedicated person in cyber. If you're not looking at your cyber team and recognizing this as an area that you have got to put, resources, external resources for experts, internal resources, that's a big area and a big blind spot. So there's some really new roles that I think are exciting, that are attracting talent outside of our industry into our industry, that you're going to see more of that. And we're certainly building that out. We're building some really exciting roles into marketing, digital capabilities, B2B, B2C coordinators, like a lot of video skill sets in-house. Like, those are exciting on the talent side from an investment. On the technology side, I'm really excited about what Financial, spelled with a Y, is doing on client portals. We've long been believers and investors and in terms of being a client with FP Alpha and applying AI to estate and tax, insights for advisors to have actionable feedback and next best action with their clients. So love what FP Alpha is doing there. I'll tell you one of the themes that came out, and this has been holy grail for me for 7 years. So I'm like, yes, please, can we solve the full digitization of client paperwork? Why is this continuing to be like so awful? There's a lot of companies out there doing that. Nest Wealth is doing it. Advisor Engine is doing it. Dispatch, there's a couple really disruptive companies that are tackling that digitization. And I think the custodians are realizing it can't be a closed ecosystem. We've got to be able to have, multi-custodial, be able to put our own paperwork, be able to transition advisors as well as onboard new clients. So I think that digitization is a shared industry goal. And then I think you've got some really cool, like Fidelity Labs, man, that is there is some cool stuff coming out of there. Catchlight on leveraging AI for prospecting and Safer, which is one of the coolest tools for removing soul-sucking pain points out of marketing regulatory review and having AI do some of that lifting. So, I'm like, I could talk all day about bleeding cutting edge technology. It's one there. This year at T3 20th anniversary was some of the most exciting technology. There's a company here in Birmingham that was founded by some friends of mine called Prism, which is a digital vault. So removing the stress and anguish of trying to chase down passwords and safety deposit boxes and real estate you don't know about, and 401k rollover assets long since forgotten, and all of that. It's staggering the amount of wealth that gets left behind because the next gen, just the beneficiaries didn't know about it. They're doing some really cool stuff at Prism to solve that problem.
You said a little something earlier. I just wanted to get your take on it. You said only 33% of advisors are separate from the wirehouses, right? 67% are with the wirehouses. What's your prediction? That's that number is much larger than what it was 20 years ago, right? What do you think that's going to look like in the next 10 years?
Oh my gosh. There was some analysis that recently came out that said in 2 years' time, it's a zero-sum game at the wirehouses. So they will, they've been holding really steady at that 67% for a while. That number, I think, is going to start ticking down as we start to see the independent side tick up. Okay, so here's my prediction. And it's a little bit like I'm going to talk my own book. It's my prediction, so I get to talk my own book. But I believe that as we talked about the way that we see the industry, aggregator model, integrator model, RFG is an innovator. And we want to double click on advisor independence. We want to help advisors build enterprise value on their personal balance sheet. I believe that as you look at the economics, and this is true today, this is why that number, as you said, 10 years ago looked wildly different as today, at least we're at 33%, is because the economics of independence are more attractive. No, I don't think anyone disputes that. But there is a very deep and dark valley of fear that you must walk through that is incredibly scary and is very hard to transition from, whether you're already independent, it's difficult. If you have all your data, it's difficult. If you are in a non-compete, non-solicit, it's difficult. If you're in a wirehouse and operating under protocol, it's different. It's difficult. Like, this is the hard thing about hard things. Here's what I think, my book, my prediction, is that if we can attain this holy grail of the full digitization, and we can document and demonstrate that transition time is not 6 months. It is not all the PTSD horror stories that everybody can, press play, hear, rattling in their brains. It is not even 90 days. We're down to 62.5 days right now. We want to get it down to 30. Can it get lower than 30? I think tech can get us there. So I believe that as we drive this digitization and we can demonstrate that it's still going to be painful. It's still going to be hard, but our numbers are north of 99% of an advisor's clients come with them. The relationship is with the advisor. The trust equity is with the advisor, not the firm, whether it's RFG or anyone else. It's with the advisor. So if we can show the economics of independence make more sense for your family's personal balance sheet, we can show that the enterprise value and the multiples of being independent are documented, are, right there in front of you to see the math. And we can couple it with removing some of that pain and suffering. I don't know how high can that number go?
Well, I'll tell you this. So, my business partner, Joe Duran, he sold his company, United, to Goldman. And he said it was, that there was.
He's the OG innovator, by the way.
Yes, so. Yes. He said that there was more meetings about, he had said there's more meetings about compliance than, about what, meetings about meetings, what the meeting was going to be, what the next meeting was about, right, at Goldman. But he said he had a remarkable experience there. And after 4 years, when his contract ended, he was done. Another one of my friends reached out to me recently, right? And he was asking me, he's with Merrill. And not recently, I think it was December, he had reached out to me. And basically he was telling me that, that he was giving me the story about like when the markets were going down in 2022. And he said, man, my clients had just, there was a day in I think it was November, December of 2022, the Fed hiked up the rates, something happened, market dropped, 4% just that day, coupled with 2% the previous day. Clients are just, ringing his phone. I mean, he's going crazy, right? He probably manages $250 million. And all of a sudden he gets pulled aside and a half an hour conversation about accepting a gift from a client, which was like cookies.
Unbelievable.
Like, and
waste of time.
Yeah. Or a vendor. It was like cookies or something like that. So I think as, to your point, as people become more innovative and people want, you got the younger advisors making their way in, coupled with individuals like, me and you and that are at the age where we still love innovation and we can implement it right for the younger individuals. And we're open to hearing, newer and better ways of doing things. I often, think that, people want options, right? And,
right.
I think that the wirehouses are, they put them in a box and it doesn't give a lot of individuals the freedom to just, kind of not feel like they're on puppet strings there. So anyhow, that was my final question. And I appreciate you answering that. And we really appreciate you being on the podcast.
It's always fun to hear, Joe on stage because he is such a visionary and, there is similarity in the story that he is telling about the future of the industry. And I believe, we're in a bull market for advice. I believe we're in a bull market for entrepreneurialism. I mean, when you really get down to it of like, do I want to have the freedom to be able to build my business without compromise, which is what this is what RFG stands for. We help advisors build their business without compromise. Do I want that entrepreneurial control? Do I want to have an impact on, my client experience model, on my branding and marketing, on my, my journey with clients? Or do I want to be, hamstrung and told what to do? And for me, like, we started this podcast with seeking the intangible. Like it's either in your blood and you have nothing but like, yes, like give me the risk, give me the opportunity, allow me, like, is it going to be perfect? No. Are you going to make mistakes? Yes. Is hindsight going to always be 20/20? Absolutely. But do you have agency over the opportunity to build a firm that is going to truly impact your clients and be reflective of your shared values with your clients and prospects? Like there's never been a better time to do that.
Thank you.
Well, Shannon, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. We really appreciate you sharing your expertise, your insights, your wealth of knowledge, and your passion with us and our audience. It's been a lot of fun. To our
Well,
listeners,
thank you so much. I love being with you guys. Great podcast, and it was a lot of fun to be with you.
Yeah, it was fantastic. To our listeners, make sure to check out Shannon. Where can they learn more about everything you're doing? RFGadvisory.com.
Yep. RFGadvisory.com, on LinkedIn, RFG Advisory, Shannon Spotswood. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, Stronger Money, HER money.com. So we'd love to meet you and engage.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again. And to our listeners, stay tuned for our next episode as we continue to unravel what truly matters in the world of finance. Until next time, thanks everyone.